Thank you. And I want to, Minister, you're very welcome into the House. And I want to first thank my colleagues on the administrative panel for bringing this motion here this evening. But I also want to thank you, Minister, for delivering for our city and county councillors throughout this country over the last year and a half that you've been in government. And I appreciate the lengths that you've gone to recognise the value that they bring to local government, and we made their pay almost a living wage. But we have to be realistic here, and it's all very well saying we love all these recommendations, but the reality is, it is not. We need to be very real and telling women what this job actually entails and the demands that it puts on your life. And when you are in politics, you are there, open to the public, 24/7. We might not like to be, and we might not, but unfortunately, we are. And, you know, and it is all about trying to protect your seat, trying to protect your position. And indeed, myself, I had an illness recently. And literally, I was only out of theatre, and I was online responding to people. So we're all very conscious about the role that we have as public representatives, but we don't give ourselves that time, even out to, I suppose, recuperate after operations. So it's really important that the recommendations that have been put forward here today, particularly on the work that's been done by the AILG, is listened to by you, Minister, and that you will take on board these 8 recommendations. I'm going to read just some of them out to you. So the amendment to Section 18 of the Local Government to provide for maternity leave as an excuse absence from the local authority, where elected members can take maternity leave without the necessity of a resolution from the elected council, and therefore it will eliminate any risk of an elected member having deemed to have resigned their seat. Recommendation number 2. The solution to provide paternity leave for elected members would be to provide for no reduction in our member remuneration payment for the first 6 months of absence from maternity, adoptive, paternity leave, a 50% reduction in their payment for the subsequent 6 months, and no payment thereafter up to 18 months absence. The third, the provision of a secretarial support has been identified as a necessary aid for members taking maternity leave. Fourth, consideration needs to be given to exempting the attendance rule requirement for payment on the annual expenses allowance for members on maternity leave to ensure payment of this allowance to fund the cost of additional secretarial support. Fifth, examining meeting times, duration and approximate flexibility with scheduled meetings to accommodate elected members on maternity leave. The sixth, continuing facility of the remote attendance and voting at statutory meetings. This was absolutely crucial during the pandemic, and I think to continue that would be a very welcome move. Consideration to be given to the introduction of a pairing system. Now, it works really well in here. I think there's absolutely no reason why it can't work at local government, and that's something that really we should be pushing for. The option for a substitute replacement system would be desirable. That's the recommendation number 8. Would be desirable for a member who would wish to avail of it in order to make a complete break while on maternity leave. Now, while that could present problems, I don't believe it will. I think the public are very forgiving, and they're very understanding what it takes to make it into local government. And I know this best of all because I actually ran in 2 areas. I was in local government, I ran in 2 areas, I could only take 1 seat, and therefore the person on my 2nd seat was going to be somebody that I nominated. And they trusted me to be able to put somebody into that position that would work for them in my absence. So it can work if you have the right person, and then to be able to hand back that seat after the time is up. Now, you recently brought in the expenses for the councillors, the €5,200. Some of the councillors were wondering, could they use some of that for childcare costs? And that hasn't been, you haven't come out actually with all the criteria in relation to how they can draw down that allowance. You know, having parents around in the very first year of their lives, the babies that are born, is really, really important. So having paternity leave and maternity leave is really important for young babies and young children. I think it's really important that we look at best practice across the EU, and whatever it is that they're doing, we should be doing just as well. There was something else I was going to bring up in relation to... sorry. Yes. To include compassionate leave for people that have miscarriages or stillbirths. I think that really is important as well. If you can maybe sort that out in some part of the Act as well, because some people do go the full time and next thing is they lose their baby very soon after birth, or they may have a late miscarriage. So I think we need to, make it more family friendly. We need to make sure that we do get young women into politics. We want to keep them there. I've seen so many women over the years come in, young women, and next thing is they're gone. They may be breastfeeding the child, and next thing is 6 months later they don't run again for local elections. We want those young women to stay. So we want to create an environment that's going to be really, really good for them. But we want to pay them right, make sure that they've got the right resources there behind them. And Minister, I think you will do it. I think that you will review this in a few months' time and make sure that these recommendations are met as regards that. Thank you very much, Minister.